October 1943. The United States Navy did something impossible. Or did they? The Philadelphia experiment. Invisibility. Teleportation. Sailors fused into steel. Men on fire for 18 days. Most people say it's a hoax. A drunk sailor's story. But the United States Navy never fully denied it. And the man who started it all died under mysterious circumstances. What if I told you the real story is scarier than the fiction? Hey truth seekers. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the most persistent myth in naval history. USS Eldridge. DE-173. A tiny escort destroyer. Slow. Unremarkable. One of hundreds. Her job was to protect supply convoys from Nazi U-boats. Nothing special. But this ship didn't become famous for what it did. It became famous for what people thought it did. The story begins not at sea, but inside a very strange man's office. Morris Ketchum Jessup. Astronomer. Author. And full-time believer in the impossible. He wrote books about UFOs, ancient mysteries, and lost civilizations. He was smart. But he wanted to believe. 1955, a letter arrives at Jessup's office. Not fan mail. Not a research question. A confession. The author called himself Carlos Miguel Allende. But that was probably a fake name. Allende's handwriting was chaotic. Rambling. Almost manic. But the content? It stopped Jessup cold. Quote, the result of the experiment was complete invisibility of the ship and crew at sea. The ship disappeared from Philadelphia and appeared in Norfolk, Virginia. 200 miles. In seconds. Across land. Then it returned to Philadelphia. Time was lost. The crew was shattered. Allende claimed the Navy used Einstein's unified field theory. The exact theory that Albert Einstein never managed to solve. The theory says gravity and electromagnetism are the same fundamental force. Crank up that field enough, and space-time physically bends. In theory. Elegant. Beautiful. Genius. In practice. A waking nightmare. Allende described sailors walking through solid metal walls. 2 men caught fire spontaneously. They burned for 18 days. 1 sailor was absorbed into the deck of the ship. Permanently. Jessup didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He sent copies of Allende's letter to a few trusted friends. And then. Something strange happened. Morris Jessup was found dead in his car. Official ruling. Suicide. Doors locked from inside. Hose connected to the exhaust. But many conspiracy theorists believe he knew too much. Right here. The United States military steps into the story. After Jessup's death, the Navy issued an official response. They released a detailed document. Explaining why it's all a myth. But here's the thing. The files they did release have more redactions than answers. That's not a denial. That's gasoline on a fire. In the 1980s, a real USS Eldridge crew member finally spoke publicly. His name was Ed Danforth. And he laughed at the whole story. Here's his exact quote. Listen closely. October 28, 1943. We weren't even in Philadelphia. We were in Nassau Harbor. Bahamas. If that's true, the whole story falls apart. Right? But here's the problem. Ship logs can be faked. Documents can be altered. And here's where the real clue appears. The real technology the Navy was testing. It was called degaussing. Degaussing removes a ship's magnetic signature to avoid Nazi magnetic mines. To degauss a ship, you wrap the entire hull in thick copper cables. Then you run massive amounts of electric current through those cables. This process creates a truly strange visual effect on the water. Gas bubbles. Corrosion. Optical distortion. The water literally boils. A sailor on a nearby ship sees white foam spreading. NYELLS. Look! The ship is disappearing. Now add thick fog. Add exhaustion after months at sea. Add cigarette smoke. Add the human brain's desperate need to make sense of chaos. And delusion does the rest. That's how myths are born. Not from lies. From honest mistakes in perception. But wait. Why is this story still alive? 80 years later? Because of something called the Jessup document. The Navy sent Jessup a letter. Written directly on the inside cover of a book. And in the blue ink margins. Someone at the Navy wrote this. Read that again. This is true. The Navy never took that back. The military poured gasoline on the fire themselves. And then walked away. They have never fully opened the electromagnetic experiment archives from the 1940s. Not for journalists. Not for historians. Not for anyone. Some modern theoretical physicists say. Maybe it's not completely impossible. If you compress a magnetic field enough, you can theoretically warp space-time. It's called the Aharonov-Bohm effect. At the scale of a single atom, it works. It's been proven. At the scale of a 200-foot warship? Not yet. But the Navy was experimenting with crazy energy projects back then. Project Rainbow. That was the real code name for the Philadelphia experiment. Allende claimed the Eldridge traveled not just through space, but through time. Maybe that's why we still haven't found the final answer. Maybe they'll come back. One last survivor of the USS Eldridge spoke to a reporter. His final quote. This is the real ending. Listen. If we really could turn invisible, we would have won World War II in one day. That didn't happen. But thanks for asking. So what are we actually left with after all this? 1. Crazy letters from a mysterious anonymous man. 2. Anti-mind technology that looks exactly like magic to a scared sailor. 3. A convenient mysterious death that was never fully investigated. The Philadelphia experiment isn't really about a ship. It's about our human need to believe that reality is thinner than it seems. We want the mystery to be real. That's the real experiment. Question for you before we go. Honest question. If someone offered you $10 million to forget this episode completely, would you take it? No. Then hit that like button and subscribe. You know the drill. Link to the real declassified Project Rainbow blueprints is in the description. Next episode. The Tunguska event. A blast 1,000 times stronger than Hiroshima. Was it a meteor? A UFO? Or something Tesla was working on that very year? Subscribe now. You don't want to miss this one. End of transmission.